Congressman Welch, let me go back to you because health insurers they're beginning to complain that ultimately the drug makers are now undercutting the system by subsidizing copays. This is very complicated to me, Congressman, but there's a tug of war brewing here. Explain why this is important.
Well, you know, it's very important, like the doctor said, it's very important that patients have choice, that the relationship be directly between the doctor and the patient, and that what is prescribed is what the patient needs. Now, the drug companies, when they're taking away the copays by essentially fronting that money, are doing that to promote the use of their drugs, something that they do also with advertising. Now, obviously, they have a right to do that, but the question for the taxpayer, which picks up a very big part of the bill, and our businesses that pay for health insurance, is that they want appropriate care, not something that's driven by marketing. If you need the pill, then you should get the pill. If the doctor prescribes a pill, you should have it. But when the drug companies are taking away that copay, that has been an inhibitor. People are careful about the money that they use. So that's all intended to push the product, whether it's necessary or not. In medical necessity, and I hope the doctor would agree, is really what should be the touchstone here.
Let me bring in for just a moment here a market perspective, an expert on this as well, and that's Jeffrey Kraws. He's joining us from Crystal Research Associates, the CEO and co-founder. Jeffrey, I know you're entering late to the conversation, but I saw you watch the congressman in his response there, and you were getting upset. Tell me why.
Well, the government has been pushing, and the insurance companies have been pushing doctors to prescribe drugs that are not necessarily the best for the patient, and they've been pushing them to prescribe a generic drug which may not even be the best in class. So if the government and the insurance companies can do it, not telling the patient what the best product is for them, I'm not going to believe that the government is actually going to push on healthcare companies saying that they can't push their products and pay the copay for a proprietary product, such as Nexium versus Prilosec or Nexium versus Antec. The healthcare companies and the biotech companies are the ones that are looking to keep the patient alive. So for a pharmaceutical company to push a product which is far superior, if you want to even the playing field, then you have to take away the ability of the government and the insurance companies to push a generic when they're not telling the patient that that is necessarily the best product for them.
Okay, but Jeffrey, here's the thing. I seem to recall that this president was a big supporter of generics. In fact, at one point talked about bringing down generics from Canada. Right. All of a sudden, that piece of the pie is no longer in the bill here because I'm assuming the large pharmaceutical companies said, whoa, that's going to cost jobs, they're going to spend more money lobbying, you name it. So is this all about the political interests of all the different groups, or are we going to get something that's good at the end of the day for the patient?
Well, we'll get something that's good at the end of the day for the patients if the pharmaceutical companies prevail. They've given an $80 billion give back. You don't want to change doctors' ability to prescribe for patients. Doctors take their Hippocratic oath to protect the patient and prescribe what's best for the patient. They've received undue pressure, and they've received pressure which has cut into their profitability by being forced to prescribe drugs that are not necessarily best for the patient. When you go into a doctor, you assume he's going to give you the best drug. If they're pushed just to take a generic drug off the list, you're not getting necessarily the best drug. 63% of pharmaceuticals prescribed right now are generic. We've got a generic drug available in every therapeutic class, and you don't want to turn your life and your future existence over to the government. The next time your revenue item for them is when you die and you're in estate tax. Pharmaceutical companies, if they have superior products and they're differentiated products, should be able to sell those products, and there's no reason why they shouldn't be able to offer a copay for it. Dr.
Coomer, would you agree?
I agree. I mean, when you're given a drug, when we're writing a prescription, we're writing a prescription for example, Lipitor, and we're sending it sending the patient to the pharmaceutical company, and they can they can give the generic form, which is fine as long as it's comparable. And I think it's there's going to be a time when where we want to be able to prescribe medications that may not necessarily come in a generic form, and then we may need to have the patients have the copays to subsidize it, only because we want to do what's right for the patient.
All right, well, we will leave it here. All three of you, I thank you guys. It's a very important issue, extremely complicated, and I hope we have time to digest it before some bills signed into law.